Well, good morning. We will get started here, and thank you for joining us. And like I was mentioning earlier, today is one of my nostalgia product because it's the first product I ever learned when I was in finance. They had a different way of presenting it way back in the day. Today we are going to be going through. It's our last week of product knowledge, so this week we're going to cover the all important theft coverage. I love it. Um, I will go through the original way they had me presenting it. I'm going to date myself because it was 20 years ago, about ish. Yeah, about 20 years ago. So there we go on that. So tried and true product, let me tell you. Okay, so theft protection, things to know about theft. Sometimes we get stuck in that rut, and I am guilty of this for sure. And I've had to pull myself out of the rut a couple times where you forget that there's a 3-year theft coverage because I always just went to the five. I always went to the 5-year coverage. There's two terms. So there's a 3-year and a 5-year. The 3-year, you get $5,000 worth of coverage. The 5-year, you get 10. Now, I realize that the price difference is very, very minimal. So why not go to the 5-year? And that's a great way of looking at it because you're right. You're giving the customer more benefit for the 5-year as opposed to the 3-year. I get that. However, though, sometimes that 5-year, that 60 months, that sticks in a customer's brain when they think of, well, I'm not going to keep it this long. You get those customers that you understand that they're not, that they understand that I'm going to be back in here in 18 months to 2 years, trading this in, buying the next one. Always got to have the newest, latest, and greatest. So a maybe even a tip that I could give you is think about that when you get that customer and you interview them and they've trading in a 2024 and they're buying a 2026 and you see on their credit report that they had a 2022 and they're every 2 years and they tell you in the customer interview, shorten your terms way up. And it's a different type of verbiage that you need to use when you get to those customers that are rotating in and out. You want to start using things like built-in down payment because if they do a VSC, at least they have the coverage. But if they do trade it in 2 years, you know what? We can cancel it and there's some built-in down payment for you. You're just working on your down payment on the next one. Plus you've got coverage. Win-win. So just changing that verbiage, and theft is no different. Theft is no different. So if you get that customer that's 1, 2, maybe 3 years, start with that 3-year program, and it's going to be that term that gets them. It'll be the term that, okay, this is going to be covering me for the term that I plan on owning it. There we go. So keep that in mind. So you got the two terms with the two different coverages. And then we have to make sure too, as a gentle reminder, anytime we sell theft, we want to make sure that we're putting the visual theft deterrent stickers on the unit. The contract's only valid if we're putting those stickers on there. So make sure that you're getting 3 stickers in 3 different places. Now, when I would do this, I would make a show of it. When the customer did purchase theft, I would make a show of it after we were done, go out. Hey, where do you think that you're going to get, where do you want to put this? I like to hide one so that way it's hidden. But I like to have 2 right out in the open because that way it can actually help deter theft. That's the point. And customers will like that and see that and know that you're caring about it and see like, okay, this program's actually going to do something for me. And make sure if you don't have the stickers, let me know. I can get you some stickers. If you're not doing that, because that's probably one of the most forgotten things that we get is make sure you're putting the stickers on there. So a couple of those things right there. All right. Every product knowledge, we always go to the contract. Theft is probably the most simple program that we have, hands down. Um, in the event that you've got the theft stern on there, you put the stickers on there. If it's stolen, if it's not returned to you within 30 days, or if it's returned and deemed a total loss, you get paid whatever balance you decided, if it was a 5 or 10 grand. That's it. Very, very easy to describe. The contract's very short. When you go to read it, take a look at it, refresh it with yourself because it'll be a good way of making sure you understand it. But it literally, I was able to boil the whole contract down. Boom. one little snippet. That's probably the most important thing. So now, one thing that you want to watch out for, and I will say this, that does throw a little wrench in my it's so easy, complicated formula. The last sentence, with respect to used units, this coverage is further restricted to a limited payment not exceeding 50% of the cash value. So if you put a $10,000 theft program on a $6,000 ATV brand new, and then in 2 years it gets stolen and the ATV is worth three or four, then they're only going to get a 2 to 3 grand payout. So you need to make sure that we're mentioning that on the less expensive machines. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's not something we need to make a huge deal about because most customers won't fit into this. But for those customers that do, we want to make sure we mention it. So, some importance of theft coverage. Now, I like to mention this because you're going to get a lot of customers coverage. You get a lot of customers who are going to make, I'm not worried about theft. Theft doesn't happen. Okay, theft happens, and theft happens a lot with side by sides. And the reason being with power sports is because there are some very big reasons we want to make sure we're mentioning to customers. There's not a lot of theft reporting when it comes to power sports, so there's not a lot of statistics out there because of the fact that not a lot of states, not all states require you to title. You have a lot of customers who have two or three side by sides on their property. They're not titled, they're not registered, they're just sitting on the property. And it's because of that, it makes it harder to try and find it. The other thing that I want to make sure that we mention to customers is if someone steals this is a great example I like to use. If someone steals a car, if you steal a car, there's a good chance that someone's going to see it on the road driving because that's where you use a car. When I was in Kentucky, we ran into this a lot. They'd steal it. Well, then they'd go and put it on their property. When are you going to see it? Unless you go and illegally walk on somebody else's property, you're not going to see it. You're not going to find out. I mean, people talk, it happens, small towns, that's how it goes. But you get some people with, you know, 200-300 acres, they might not think a blink of like, well, I'll just put it on my property, no one's going to find it. And that's why theft is so important because it's not going to be out there. It's not going to be something to where a cop might be able to run a plate. It's going to be sitting on somebody's property and they're playing with it, and it's gone. So definitely it's a good example to use for customers is that, take them out of that mindset. Again, it's that changing their mindset, putting their brain into a situation where, oh, I didn't even think of that. You want that aha moment. Okay, so presenting theft. So before I get into this, I promised you, because it's so exciting, I'd tell you how we used to sell theft back in the day. I used to have a form, and I don't have a copy of the form anymore, or else that'd be super cool, but that was 20 years ago. I don't even know if they use the form anymore. But it literally had a map they taught you of here's your 9-digit code, and it's already engraved in your car. And then you're going to need to make sure that you hold on one second. Oh, hey, Brittany. All right. So again, it was just like a form, and you just presented it and said, it's only going to raise your payment a couple dollars a month. Here, sign this. And that's how they did it. They literally had a form that you'd walk through, and they wanted theft to be a quick program that you just you're signing, you're moving on, you're done. And theft can be treated like that, and it can be an effective program like that. But I like letting people know what coverages they're getting because then they really feel the benefit and it helps raise your CSI. So when presenting theft, let's not make theft that gloss over here, sign here. Oh, you've got it. Good for you. Move on. Let's make sure that we're, just like any other program, GAP, VSC, theft should be up there in some of our top penetration. And the reason why is because theft is a program that fits everyone. That is one of those important things. Just like we talked about when we were doing battery coverage, theft is another program to where every customer qualifies for theft. Everyone. Because if you're going to let's say you're going to keep it for a year, well, something can happen to your brand new Can-Am Defender that you just spent $45,000 on. Something can happen real quick to that. So you want to make sure you have some theft coverage on it. So presenting theft. We protect against theft because unlike autos, if someone puts your side by side on their property, they ain't going to find it. So I kind of jumped the gun on this one, but it's something I used a lot and was very, very effective. Very good to point that out to people because I think a lot of people have that auto mentality of, oh, well, they'll find it. Oh, somebody, well, no one's going to be out driving it around. I mean, if I'm trying to think if a thief would be smart enough, I don't like to use negative words, but not smart enough to go and steal a $40,000 Defender and then take it out to the trails where everybody's at and go ride it around. I mean, we've seen things. I'm just gonna say it. We've seen dumber things, but it could happen, I guess. But most likely, if they're gonna do it, it's gonna stay on somebody's property. You're not gonna see it. And like I said before, built-in down payment if the theft happens, because you don't want to make sure that theft ends up costing you. And that is the fear when it comes to theft, because somebody's going to have a nice buggy, you put it all together, and you know what? Yeah, the insurance might pay it off. That's awesome, and that's what we hope. Or you have gap insurance and you walk away from your loan free and clear. But now what? What if you did put some money down and that money down just got eaten up into disequity or eaten up into, some depreciation? If that's the case, man, it can be really like the man, it got stolen. Yeah, it wiped away and wiped clear, but now I'm starting at zero again. With theft, you don't start at zero. So not a bad way of presenting it to have the customers understand that if theft does happen to you and it's totaled or whatever happens, at least this way you're not starting at zero. You'll start with some money in your pocket. So, two great ways that I love to present theft for sure. Theft bundles. Now, I didn't say pairing here. I wrote bundles for a reason. And the reason I wrote that is theft is going to lead me into a side note for today's training, and that is bundling. And bundling is different than pairing. Pairing is here's program A, here's program B. This looks good on a menu, and they're at retail price. Theft, I love to bundle with other programs at a discount. So if you wanted to buy theft, Mr. and Mrs. Customers, for this, and you buy payment protection for this, but if you go with payment protection and you add theft to it, we can actually save you $100 or whatever math you want to work out. I let you guys figure that one out. People love bundles, and theft is probably the best program to bundle, especially when it comes to like payment, gap insurance, VSC, you know it, just little things, because it has such a low cost point to where it looks like to the customer, you're giving that perception to the customer that you're getting a better deal by getting a couple more programs. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're trying to raise. If I told you there was a way to raise your PVR by $100 a month, everybody'd be interested, because going from 1,000 to 1,100 or 15 to 1,600 or 21 to 2,200, whatever your PVR is or wherever your goals are, having a way to get an extra $100, that's a big jump. And bundling theft and just finding a way to make sure that you're making 100, $150 on theft, but you're putting it with another program, makes all the difference. And I'll tell you what, when you see one of these, bundling works. People go to the car wash, they get you every time. They get me every time. Well, you can do the deluxe wash, but we'll put that. Look at that. Look at this one. Triple foam conditioner. I don't even know what that is. But when you're sitting in the line, you're like, man, for an extra bucks, for extra buck, I get the triple foam conditioner. Okay, done, sold. Truck's gonna look real good. Okay. I'm not saying that theft should be compared to triple foam conditioner. I'm not saying that, but you can look at it when you're bundling to that's how they're going to take it. Okay, I'm going to get theft because I need it and I'm getting a really good deal on it. So work on, see, everybody's been in these trainings, homework's coming. Aha, homework. So this week, work on bundling, work on looking at your menu. Where this whole training, the whole goal of my putting all this training together is I want everybody to have the ultimate in like preparedness when you're going to face a customer. And so it takes doing a little homework beforehand. And the best thing you can do is having different tools ready for a customer. So, We've talked about with our menus on making sure that we customize it based off of the interview. Well, having those menu columns customized to the customer, perfect. That's the way to do it. But having a couple bundles in the back of your mind, it's a way of a second attempt off of a no. So if a customer gives you a no, you're presenting your menu and they're like, no, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. Mr. and Mrs. Customer, it seems like you were interested in this program, this program. What if I was able to put a bundle together and save you a little bit of money by doing those two programs together? Let's take a look at that. Let me see what I can work. It's a way of re-engaging the customer, a way of making sure that you're taking a second attempt. You're trying to help them out. And it's better to say it that way because going back to the car wash thing, if you had somebody there at the car wash trying to explain to you each one, it's going to take forever and however long it is. But if you start to bundle, say they start to bundle, they put that little triple foam in there, they start to bundle those programs together, then you start to see more value. Like, wow, okay, that ultimate wash, I really do get a lot. Let's go with that. And they're going to get me on it every time. I'll tell you what, I am that person to where I go in there and like, well, do you want the ultimate wash with the tire and this, that, and the other? Like, fine. Excuse me. Oh man, still fighting something. Sorry. But work on putting some menu bundles together. Have those in the back of your mind so that way when your customers do come up with some questions or you do run into those customers who unfortunately don't say yes right off the bat, which I hope every customer just lays down right on the biggest package and you're good to go. But when they don't, bundling is another way of bringing up a resale or putting another program back to them without just saying, well, hey, I know you didn't like the warranty. What if I just discounted it? Would you take it? That that's not selling. That's not what you want. Your customers are just going to feel like, oh, great, I'm just getting sold, and no, he's just discounting. Oh, you had a ton of profit in it. Those are the thoughts that are going to go through your customer's head. So with bundling, you're able to take that same. You can say the same exact thing, but you're saying it in a different way, to where they feel they're getting the value at it. I saw you had a lot of interest in that VSC. We do have a bundle that we could put together with Gap to where if you do the VSC with the Gap, we'll actually save you a couple $100. Why don't we take a look at that? Let's see what that does to your payment real quick. Maybe that'd be something you're interested in. And then you're boom, you're right onto the payment. You're still going through it. And it's just another way for you to make sure that you can talk to the customer and not seem like you're being too pushy. Because that's ultimately the goal, is to make sure that we're educating and getting the customers to buy the programs for what they are, not just because we're throwing it on there. Um, so hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, if you need help with bundling, everybody's got my email and contact information. I would love to sit down with you, kind of go through it. I'm going to give you a heads up. Okay. So this was our last week of product knowledge. We've got 4 more weeks left in this course. And the next 4 weeks, we're going to spend time doing two things. One, we're going to be going over the menu work, and we're going to start really diving into how to present the menu, how to set it up, all the fun things, all the little tricks of the trade. Try and refresh it to make you a little bit more effective. Like I said, we're going from good finance managers to the better. That's all it is. We're trying to do a little bit of constant improvement. So we'll do a couple weeks on that, and then we're going to do a couple weeks of objection handling and how to really overcome some of the things that customers are saying. Now, when it comes to objection handling, the reason I'm mentioning this now, and even though it's a couple weeks away, is that I want you to start writing down extra bonus homework. Start writing down some of the objections you see a lot that you might have some issues overcoming. I want to go through them together because you never know that someone might have a way of really handling this objection well. And someone might have, I've learned so much in trainings just having those conversations. So one of the objection trainings will be a round robin of sorts where we kind of go through and talk about what objections we're having. If you do have a list put together in the next couple of weeks, I'd love for you to email me it. That way I can make sure I'm addressing some in the training. So if you do put those lists together, which I would love, that would help me out a ton, and we'll go through that. So like I said, we want to keep these nice and short, about 20 minutes. Thank you all for joining us today. Great training. Hopefully, I see some theft numbers going up. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up and we will gladly do so. Anybody got any questions while we're here?